Shadur Sanders, yes, that Shedeur, the quarterback with the arm, the charisma, the swagger, the leadership, and the brand power to redefine a team, is reportedly on the trading block. Let that sink in. A franchise quarterback, a generational talent, a guy who's already sold out jerseys, brought national attention to Cleveland, and hasn't even had a full rookie season to prove what he can do. And instead of building around him, the Browns are thinking about trading him. If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed. Why? Because they're too afraid to commit. Because they'd rather protect the status quo than embrace the star they already have. Because they think playing it safe behind Joe Flacco is a better business move than unleashing a once-in-a-decade leader who can actually win games and bring an entire fan base back to life while doing it. And if you think this is just smoke, think again. Other teams are circling. Calls are being made. The buzz isn't just noise, it's opportunity. Because while Cleveland is dragging its feet, the rest of the league sees exactly what Shedeur is, the future. And if the Browns are too blind or too scared to see it, then they deserve what's coming. The empty seats, the booing fans, the inevitable reality of watching Shedeur light up another stadium in another jersey. Because make no mistake, if Shadur Sanders leaves Cleveland, it won't just be a trade. It'll be a betrayal to the fans who believed, to the city that showed up, to the player who was ready from day one. And once he's gone, once he's thriving under a coach who believes in him, you don't get to hit reset. You don't get to say, we didn't know. You knew, and you still let him walk. So the question now isn't whether Shadur Sanders is the guy. It's whether the Browns are brave enough to let him be. Because if they trade him, that's not just another front office blunder. That's legacy ending. The Cleveland Browns on the verge of doing something so catastrophically dumb, so textbook Cleveland, that you can almost hear the rest of the NFL laughing from across the league. Trade Shadur Sanders? Really? That's the play? Let's talk about this mess. Because what started as whispers in backrooms and sideline chatter has now become the story in Cleveland. And if there's any truth to these trade rumors, it proves something fans have suspected for years. The Browns are more interested in preserving their image than building a legacy. Let's get straight to the heart of it. Shadur Sanders hasn't even played a full NFL game, and yet he's already outdrawing half the league. The man sold out jersey drops before he ever took a snap. He lit up fan events. He's the reason half of Cleveland is actually tuning in again. The energy, the buzz, the anticipation. It's all centered around one thing, the Shedeur effect. And somehow inexplicably, the Browns think it's smart to keep him benched behind Joe Flacco, a quarterback whose best highlight this decade is surviving press conferences. No disrespect to Flacco, but let's call this what it is, a franchise refusing to evolve. What are they waiting for? A written invitation? A billboard? A sign from the heavens that screams, "Start the rookie"? Because every metric, fan engagement, national attention, even viewership spikes, points to one thing. The people came for Shedeur. And yet, here we are. He's benched. The Browns are losing. And now, we're hearing trade rumors? Let me be real with you. If the Browns trade Shadur Sanders, it won't just be a football mistake. It'll be a franchise-shattering, brand-defining, decade-haunting meltdown of epic proportions. Because this kid isn't just a quarterback. He's a movement. We're talking about someone who energized an entire city without throwing a pass. Someone who has fans camping outside training camp just to see him walk. Someone who brought national spotlight to a franchise that spent the last 20 years trying to outrun its own clown car reputation. But the Browns? They're stuck in a cycle, a toxic loop of chasing respectability while avoiding risk. They want the ticket sales. They want the jersey revenue. They want the YouTube clicks. But when it comes time to actually hand the keys over to someone who could lead, they fold like a cheap lawn chair. And now, teams across the league are circling like sharks. Make no mistake, those trade rumors, they didn't come out of nowhere. Other franchises see the writing on the wall. They see a generational talent being wasted, and they're more than happy to swoop in and do what Cleveland won't. Develop him, play him, build around him. Because they understand what the Browns don't. Marketing hype means nothing without a win column. Let's talk about that Bengals game. Shedeur didn't play a single down. Not one. And yet, the viewership broke records. Fan energy was off the charts. Social media was on fire. People showed up for him. Not Flacco. Not the coaching staff. Not even the matchup. Him. And still, the Browns keep him on the sideline like he's a brand mascot instead of a quarterback. You don't need a marketing degree to see what they're doing. They're using Shedeur's image to drive business while keeping him off the field. So they don't risk a PR fumble if he plays like, oh, I don't know, a rookie quarterback. It's cowardly. And more than that, it's self-sabotage. You don't draft a talent like Shadur Sanders to protect him. You draft him to unleash him. But let's get back to the trade rumors, because this is where it gets dangerous. If the Browns are even entertaining the idea of sending Shedeur elsewhere, that means one of two things is true. Option one, they've lost all sense of long-term planning and are more concerned with short-term stability and preserving their image than they are with actually winning football games. Option two, they're afraid. Afraid that if Shedeur starts and struggles, even a little, it'll damage their perfectly crafted marketing bubble, that the Shedeur hype machine will implode, and along with it, the entire illusion that they know what they're doing. Either way, it's pathetic, and it's exactly why other franchises are frothing at the mouth to grab him, because real football teams know something the Browns clearly don't. Greatness doesn't come gift-wrapped. It's forged in the fire. You want a franchise quarterback? You don't wait until the situation is perfect. You throw him in. You support him. You let him fail, and then you watch him rise. That's how Mahomes got his shot. That's how Lamar earned his respect. That's how Joe Burrow turned Cincinnati into a contender. And now, Shadur Sanders is sitting on the bench, in limbo, while teams like the Falcons, the Patriots, and the Raiders are reportedly poking around, trying to see just how stupid Cleveland is willing to be. If they let him go, Cleveland fans, brace yourselves. Because if that trade happens, you will spend the next 10 years watching highlight reels of Shedeur thriving somewhere else while this franchise stumbles through another rebuild. And trust me, it will sting. Every touchdown he throws, every playoff win, every MVP conversation, that'll be a reminder. A brutal, unrelenting reminder of what this team could have been if they just got out of their own way. But hey, maybe that's the Browns' way, right? Build the buzz, sell the merch, ignore the talent, trade the future for a headline, then wonder why they haven't been to the Super Bowl in, ever. This isn't about hype anymore. It's about credibility. Are the Browns serious about building a winning team? Or are they just running a traveling brand activation with football jerseys? Because Shadur Sanders is ready. You can see it in the way he carries himself, the way the locker room respects him, the way the fan base lights up when his name is mentioned. You don't fake that kind of presence. You build around it. But the Browns? They're sitting on a gold mine and acting like it's a liability. So here's your call to action, Cleveland. Speak up. Don't let this franchise trade away your future quarterback because someone in the front office thinks the optics aren't safe. Demand better. Demand that they play to win, not just to sell tickets. Because if they let Shedeur walk out that door, he won't just take his talent with him. He'll take the last real hope this franchise has had in years. And when he's holding up trophies in another city while Cleveland is drafting their next QB of the future in 2026, you'll remember this moment. You'll remember that the Browns didn't lose him because he failed. They lost him because they were too afraid to let him succeed. And that's the real heartbreak. Let's keep going, because the deeper you go into the Shadur Sanders situation, the more maddening it gets. It's not just a case of a young QB waiting his turn. This isn't some slow-cooked development plan or a patient grooming strategy. No, this is the Cleveland Browns doing what they've always done best, choking on their own potential. And now they're flirting with the idea of trading Shadur Sanders, a player who has already proven more valuable to the brand, the locker room, and the future than anyone else on the roster. And for what? For peace and quiet? For stability behind Joe Flacco's corpse of career? To avoid headlines about rookie growing pains? Let's be real. That's not leadership. That's fear management masquerading as a quarterback strategy. Let's go back to the beginning for a second. You draft Shedeur. You parade him around like he's the next big thing. You roll out exclusive merch drops, camera crews, media day interviews, mic'd up moments, all before he's even QB2. You sell the dream. And then what do? You bench him behind a rental, a placeholder, a guy whose cleats should be in a museum, not on the field in 2025, all while telling fans, trust the process. Please, there's no process here. There's paralysis. And the result is a franchise that's actively suffocating its future because it doesn't know how to manage success. And you feel it, don't you? The tension, the confusion, the disconnect between the front office and the fan base. Everyone's asking the same question. If Shedeur's not the future, what are we even doing here? Because everything about this kid screams franchise quarterback. It's not just his arm. It's his presence, his poise, his ability to command a huddle with grown men twice his age and twice as jaded. His leadership is already there. His football IQ is through the roof. And oh yeah, he's a marketing dream. So why is he riding the bench like he needs training wheels? Why are trade rumors even happening? Let's break it down. When other teams are asking about a player, especially a rookie quarterback, it's because they smell blood in the water. They see an opening. They see a franchise unsure of itself, and they pounce. That's what's happening here. Franchises with struggling QB rooms, struggling ticket sales, or just a shred of foresight are circling Cleveland right now with the same question. If they're not going to play him, maybe we should. And that's not on Shedeur. That's on the Browns for failing to commit. They drafted a diamond, and instead of polishing it, they're locking it in a drawer and hoping nobody notices. Meanwhile, the fan base is on edge, the locker room is divided, and the one guy who could pull it all together is being treated like an NFT. Cool to show off, but never used for anything real. Let's say the unthinkable happens. Let's say they actually pull the trigger and trade Shadur Sanders. Here's how that plays out. First, you'll get the usual press conference spin. We believe this move is best for the long-term success of the organization. Translation: we panicked and had no idea what to do with him. Then, you'll get the heartbreak phase. Fans burning jerseys. Media roasting the front office. Players doing cryptic subtweets. The city of Cleveland will go through actual grief because they know it was just lost. And then the nightmare begins. Shedeur lands in a new city. A coach believes in him. A GM builds around him. He gets real snaps, real protection, real weapons. And guess what? He thrives. You see him on Monday Night Football. You see him throwing bombs with swagger and smiling on the sidelines as his team punches their playoff ticket. You see the highlights, the mic'd up moments, the rise of a new star quarterback, not in Cleveland. And every time he shines, Browns fans are going to remember. He was ours, and we let him walk. It's about identity. It's about what this franchise wants to be, and more importantly, what it refuses to become. Because if you trade Shadur Sanders, you're not just trading a player. You're trading hope. You're trading relevance. You're trading the only thing that's made this team remotely exciting in years. And why? Because you're scared? Because you don't want to admit the rookie is better than your vet? Because you're more worried about optics and outcomes? Let's cut the nonsense. Joe Flacco is not your future. He was never meant to be. He's a one-year Band-Aid on a bullet wound. A short-term patch for a long-term fracture. You don't build dynasties on tired arms and nostalgia. You build them on risk, on vision, and on the guts to put faith in someone improving. Shedeur isn't improving because he's bad. He's improving because you haven't given him the damn chance. But other teams will, and they're already lining up. If you think those trade rumors are just noise, you're not paying attention. You think the Falcons wouldn't love to hand him the keys to their offense? You think the Raiders wouldn't kill to pair him with a strong run game and a chip on their shoulder? You think Belichick, if he lands somewhere, wouldn't salivate over a quarterback with Shedeur's poise, arm, and upside? Come on, this league doesn't wait. If you hesitate, someone else capitalizes. And Cleveland? You've made a career out of hesitation. Let's talk about what happens next if they don't trade him. But keep him on the bench. Even worse, honestly, because now you've sent a message not just to Shedeur, but to the entire locker room. We don't trust our guys. We're scared of the future, and we'd rather play it safe than play to win. Do you know what that does to a team? It erodes belief. Quietly, day by day, players start second-guessing leadership, start checking out, start wondering if they're next in line to be sidelined for the sake of PR spin. You lose the locker room, not in a blowout, but in whispers. And when the losses pile up and you finally throw Shedeur into the fire midseason, guess what? Now he's the scapegoat. Now the narrative is, well, he didn't turn it around either, when the truth is, you never gave him a real shot to begin with. You gave him a mess and expected magic. And let's not ignore the branding hypocrisy here. You plaster his face on billboards. You push his jerseys like limited edition sneakers. You drop teaser trailers of him throwing in practice like it's a Marvel origin story. But then when it's game time, nothing. Crickets. You sell Shedeur like he's the future, then treat him like a marketing tool you don't know how to use. It's not just bad management. It's insulting to him, to the fans, to the game itself. And while we're at it, let's talk about those fans for a second. The ones who've been showing up week after week, year after year, through every embarrassing collapse and every hollow promise. They've seen this story before. They've lived through the Johnny Football debacle, the Baker roller coaster, the endless rotating cast of maybe this guy quarterbacks who were either rushed too soon or buried too fast. And now, finally, you have a guy who might actually be the real thing, and you're doing it again. The fans don't want another rebuild. They want results. They want to see the guy you told them to believe and actually take the field and compete, not sit on the bench, not rot in some developmental purgatory while you test drive washed-up veterans for one last ride. They want Shedeur. And frankly, he's earned it. You can talk about NFL speed and rookie nerves all you want, but this isn't some deer-in-the-headlights kid. This is someone who grew up around greatness, who understands pressure, who's played in hostile environments, silenced doubters, and kept receipts along the way. He's not afraid of the stage. He's waiting for you to put him on it. And if you don't, if you push him out the door because you're too afraid of what happens if he struggles, you will regret it. Maybe not today. Maybe not even this season. But when he's on another team, lighting it up on Sunday Night Football, doing interviews where he smiles and says, "I'm just grateful for this opportunity," that regret's going to hit hard, and it won't go away. You'll try to move on. You'll try to rebrand. You'll hire a new GM, a new coach, maybe draft another QB who fits the system. But deep down, everyone will know. You had the guy. You let him go. And you'll never live it down. So if this is your last chance to get it right, Cleveland, don't blow it. Start Shedeur. Trust him. Let him lead. Not because it's flashy. Not because it sells jerseys. Not because the fans demand it, though they do. But because that's how winning cultures are built. You identify your cornerstone. You back him loudly. And you build everything around him like you actually want to win something more than a press cycle. The Browns have tried everything else. The stopgap vets, the rehab projects, the game managers and bridge QBs. None of it worked. So maybe, just maybe, it's time to try something radical. Belief. Believe in the guy with the arm, the mindset, the charisma, and the ceiling. Because if you don't, he'll go somewhere that does. And you'll be right back here, searching, rebuilding, explaining, regretting. And Shedeur, he'll be gone, still winning, still smiling, still proving yet again that Cleveland can't win without him, and didn't deserve him to begin with. You don't get many Shadur Sanders in your lifetime. That's not hyperbole. That's fact. You can scout all you want. You can tank, trade, reload, rebuild. You can chase prospects, sign veterans, hope a sixth-round sleeper turns into a diamond. But a player like Shedeur, the total package, comes around maybe once in a generation. He's smart. He's polished. He's media-ready without being fake. He's confident without being arrogant. And most importantly, he wants to win. He's got the it factor, that thing you can't coach. That magnetism that elevates everyone around him. The presence that makes linemen block harder, receivers run cleaner routes, and fans show up in freezing rain just to say, "That's our guy." And right now, the Cleveland Browns are acting like they're the ones doing him a favor. Let that sink in. The same Browns who burned through 32 quarterbacks since 1999. The same Browns who haven't seen a Super Bowl in their franchise's entire existence. The same Browns who turn every head coach into a punchline by year 2 and every promising draft pick into a footnote by year 3. They're out here acting like Shadur Sanders is just another name on a spreadsheet. No. He's not just a nice-to-have. He's your only shot at relevance in a conference where every other team already has their future under center. The Bengals have Burrow. The Ravens have Lamar. The Texans have Stroud. Even the Jaguars have Trevor. And what does Cleveland have? A ticking clock. Because whether they admit it or not, they're on borrowed time. Shedur's patience has limits. His value is rising. His brand is growing. His expectations are rising by the day. He didn't come here to be a mascot. He didn't come here to be a pawn in some front office branding scheme. He came to play, to lead, to win. And if you can't give him that, somebody else will. The league is watching. The agents are talking. The DMs are flying. Don't kid yourself. There are entire offensive playbooks already being quietly tailored to what Shedeur could do here. Teams are ready. And if that trade button gets pressed, if that press release goes out, you better believe the NFL will make room for him. And Cleveland? Well, Cleveland will go back to doing what it does best, surviving in the shadows of other teams' greatness, watching from the outside, always almost there, always a year away, always rebuilding. And don't think for 1 second that Shedeur won't remember how it went down. This man has been keeping receipts since college. He's built from prime-time cloth. He knows how narratives are written and rewritten. You think he'll forget the way this franchise used him as a poster boy while denying him the field? You think he'll ignore how they sat him down for his own good, only to hang losses on his silence? No, he'll remember. And when he's in another uniform, carving up the fences and leading comeback wins on national TV, you'll remember too. You'll remember that Cleveland had it all. The star, the story, the spark. And they let it rot because somewhere along the way, the Browns stopped trying to be great and started trying to look stable. But here's the thing no one wants to say out loud. Stability means nothing without boldness. It doesn't matter if you have a solid front office and a cautious coach if you refuse to take a risk on greatness when it's standing right in front of you. Because if the goal is just to be not embarrassing, then congratulations. You've lowered the bar so far it's underground. And if you trade Shadur Sanders for a pick and a developmental project because it fits your timeline better, you deserve the mediocrity that follows. The empty seats, the sarcastic tweets, the radio call-ins, the angry think pieces, the primetime games flexed out for lack of relevance. You earned it because you chose fear. You chose politics over progress, control over creativity, branding over ball. And that's the part that stings the most. Because Shedeur didn't fail you. You failed him. You brought him here under the promise of a fresh start, a new chapter, a franchise cornerstone. And then you buried him under buzzwords and backup plans. And the saddest part? You still don't see it. You still think you're in control of the narrative. But the minute that trade rumor became public, you lost that control. The fans feel it. The players know it. The media smells blood. You can't put the genie back in the bottle now. You either commit fully to Shadur Sanders or admit to the world that you're more afraid of being wrong than you are hungry to be right. And if it's the latter, then just say it. Come clean. Say, we're not ready for someone like Shedeur. Say, we'd rather be comfortable losers than risky winners. Say, he deserves better than us. Because that's what it'll come down to in the history books. Not that you didn't have the talent. Not that you didn't have the quarterback. Not that you didn't have the moment. But that when all of that was finally in your hands, you hesitated. And in this league, hesitation is death. So what happens next? That's on you, Cleveland. You still have time. Not much, but enough. You can fix this. You can squash the rumors. Name him QB1. Build the offense around him. Let him learn. Let him lead. and let the city rally behind a quarterback who's already captured their hearts. Or you can trade him. Watch him win. Watch him thrive. Watch him become everything you were too small-minded to believe he could be. But know this, there will be no coming back from that. Not in the eyes of the fans. Not in the eyes of players. Not in the eyes of history. You let Baker walk. You let OBJ go. You cycled through QBs like disposable razors. But this will be different. This will be the one everyone remembers. So ask yourself, Cleveland, do you want to be the team that built something bold, or the team that watched the future walk out the door? The clock's ticking, and Shadur Sanders isn't waiting forever.